So this day is kind of nice because it gives students a chance to revisit the idea of correlation, but also it allows them to extend it into the idea of correlation coefficient, allowing them to really get specific about how correlated something is. When they come in, they're going to see this worksheet over here, which has them graphing line of best fit for different scatter plots, and then describing the correlation that they see there. And then over here on the board, they're seeing basically the same thing. It's instructions for how to complete this, how they're supposed to work on it independently, and then pair with someone to check their answers, and then that we'll be calling out answers in just a little bit and sharing. Then we introduce a standard real quick, which is to compute the correlation coefficient using technology. And we have another little quick review about how we can relate to different variables. For instance, here we have class time passed and then how much content has been learned. Just ask students a couple different questions to think about what type of correlation they would see there and then what the graph seems to indicate. And then right around here, we're starting to extend into the idea of correlation coefficient because they're supposed to look at these two scatter plots, which are actually really, really similar, but they have slightly different data. And you'll see that this one is circled. Students won't see that because what they're supposed to be asking is which one more closely represents a line. There's an animation when you view this in presentation mode that if you click will then circle this one because this one more closely resembles a line because of the correlation coefficient, which they don't know about yet. But they could have all kinds of different answers. Like for one, it doesn't quite look like a function because we have two dots right on top of each other here, which is ultimately what makes it less liney, but that's the basic idea. So then we get into our next one here, which is where we introduce the idea of a correlation coefficient. We kind of describe it in some academic and some less academic terms. And then we have a little spectrum of correlation coefficient where we show them that it ranges from -1 to +1 with no correlation right here in the middle at 0. Just a little bit of a restatement here of the graph above, and then just a reminder that if correlation is positive, it means your two variables increase together, and that if it's negative, that one decreases as the other one increases. So a little, quick little practice for them to work on here. They're supposed to arrange these correlation coefficients in order of weakest correlation to strongest. There's a little hint here about absolute value, which you can take out, or you can leave in there, depending on how hard you want them to work. But it's there. And then just a follow-up question about what a correlation coefficient of 0.7 would tell you about the slope of the particular trend line. Then we go back and look at that same example of those two scatter plots, but this time the correlation coefficient is there, so hopefully this confirms what students were already guessing, which is that this one over here is actually slightly stronger correlation. And then what we do after that is we just do a quick little matching activity. Students are going to break into groups, and what they have, each group will have a bunch of little cards cut out. Now right now they're all aligned, so you definitely want to make sure you cut these out ahead of time because this is basically the answer key here. And students are going to go ahead and match up each of these different types of correlation to one of these scatter plots and then an accompanying correlation coefficient that could represent that scatter plot. And they're either pasting or just kind of organizing it on this page, which is part of their worksheet packet, depending on whether you're doing it independently or in groups or however you want to make that work. And then we just kind of, after everyone kind of has it down, we go ahead and we move on and we do just a quick little review of those basic same concepts on the board. Just a little matching one. Shouldn't take more than a few seconds. Totally just let students shout out answers. It's not a big deal. And then from there, and again, this is where it doesn't make sense unless you have the animations in front of you. I show the kids the formula for actually finding correlation coefficient, basically just to scare them. And then we talk about how that's just kind of inefficient. Really what we're going to do is we're going to find it with technology here. So students are going to go ahead and they're going to break into groups. They're going to open Excel on a computer and an internet browser. They're going to go to the URL tinyurl.com/ccxl, which I've already got open here. It's just a short little video instructing students on how to use Excel, how to find a correlation coefficient. It just goes over a quick document that explains it. That document is also included with these lesson materials, so you can just have them go over that instead or in addition to if you have someone who would just learn better that way. So students are going to be going through Excel and they're going to be inputting this data, which is also included in the video. And they're going to be getting the correlation coefficient based on that. And then there's just some follow-up questions for them to think about what type of correlation does the data have as a result of that correlation coefficient. And then also having them predict what they think some future prices would be using that data. And then students are going to go ahead and go into kind of a practice mode. It's the next page in their worksheet packet. It's also the last page, where they're just going to take a couple of different data sets and they're going to compute the correlation coefficient and then figure out what type of correlation we have as a result of that. And then once they've kind of got that down, as you see students kind of wrapping that up, you can put the exit ticket on the board, which is just another example where we're correlating, seeing if there's a correlation between students' height and their math score. Hopefully there's no correlation, but we'll find out. That's about it, so good luck.